Hey guys, good to see everybody again. Before we get into today's lesson, I do want to shout out all of you for the hard work that you put in the first week of our online learning. We had nearly 100% completion rate for those first two assignments, and the quality of work was really good. It was nice to see people coming into the Science Center and coming into our office hours to get help, and even those of you that reached out by email for clarifications. I know this is not an ideal situation, but you guys are really doing a great job, and keep plugging away. We got 4 more weeks of instruction, and then you guys are high school graduates, and we can celebrate that as best we can in this moment, and you guys are on to bigger and better things. So today we are going to do a lesson that kind of builds on the first two. You'll notice obviously I'm in the classroom today. Feels kind of weird to be in here without students, to be honest with you, but we're going to do a couple of little mini labs, and you guys will analyze that as part of today's assignment. So let's get right into it. All right, our first substance that we're going to be using is copper chloride. All right, this blue stuff right here. So I'll put the chemical formula on the screen, and our first question is simply, what's the molar mass of this copper chloride? All right, hopefully you figured that out. It's 134 grams per mole. So take a moment to calculate, just like you did last week with Miss Elena, how many moles are we going to be putting into this reaction? 13.4 grams. All right, so I got my 13.4 grams. I got my flask. We're going to dump that right in. This is relatively safe. I should be wearing goggles, but YOLO. All right, so you guys can see I got a nice bright bluish green solution cooking up right here. And we're going to put the exact same amount of moles of aluminum. So a bunch of aluminum foil coming in. All right, so now that we've seen the reaction go, we're going to try to analyze it and make some sense of it. So my first question for you guys is, what are the products of that reaction? And a hint is it's a single replacement. Okay, we're going to run the reaction 2 more times. The next time is going to have double the amount of aluminum. So we can see in this flask right here, it's twice as much aluminum as I put in the first time. But we're going to keep the copper chloride the same. So let's think about this for a second, almost like if it were a recipe. So we're making copper. I'm doubling the aluminum, that's one ingredient, and I'm keeping the copper chloride the same. So my question for you guys now is, how will that affect the amount of copper that we can make? Okay. So we are going to go ahead and watch that reaction side by side with another one where I have double the amount of copper chloride, and we'll come back in a second to compare those. All right, so the last thing we're going to talk through today is a 2-part calculation to figure out exactly how much copper we made. All right, so let's imagine someone was offering us money to mass produce copper using this reaction, and we needed to be able to figure out exactly how much we were making every time we ran the reaction. All right, so just like we've been doing, we want to start with what we were given. And I'm going to begin with the moles of aluminum, because I remember that from earlier in the video. It was 0.1 moles of aluminum. And I want to turn that into moles of copper, because that's what I care about in this question. So notice that I'm doing the same setup that looks familiar from the past couple lessons. We have the unit that we want to cancel out at the bottom, and we have the new unit that we're calculating into on the top. And then to get these numbers right here, we just go right to our chemical formula and fill in the coefficients. So there's 3 coppers produced every time this reaction runs, and there's 2 aluminums that are used up. All right, we can think of this just like the recipe examples. So think of this like an ingredient. That's how much aluminum we had to put in to get this reaction to go. And think of this like a product, like we make 3 moles of copper every time the reaction happens, just like in the cookie example, we made a certain number of cookies. All right, so cross out your unit that's on top and bottom, do the math. We get 1.5 moles of copper. And then I'm going to do one more step to turn it into grams, just like you practiced with Miss Elena last week. All right, so I want to go from moles to grams. So we say 1.5 moles of copper. We put our new unit on top, put our old unit on the bottom, And here, we're going to fill in the numbers from the periodic table. So it's 64 grams of copper is the same as 1 mole. All right, cross out that repeating unit. I'll let you guys do the math, and this value that we're going to calculate here, if we actually took the time to dry out our copper from our reactions, that's what we would have. All right, so hope to hear from you guys soon. Please come to the Science Center or office hours if you're struggling at all with this, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.